This week on Hot Faith, I have with me Myron and Howard, our birthday boy. He's 42 years young.
That's right.
And looks immaculate, by the way.
42.
Yeah. Happy birthday today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So our first sauce is a mixture of this blueberry hot sauce with barbecue.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Pretty low heat.
Yeah,
All right.
this one right here.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice and sweet.
Tasty.
Yeah.
That's good.
So what was it like growing up at home, practicing faith?
Well, of course, I was actually born and raised in Muncie, Indiana. And we, growing up, we went to a Methodist church, and I think it was, from what I recall, as a young child, it was pretty much Easter and Christmas Eve. Then at some point in time, before we moved up here to LaGrange, back in the later 60s, we joined a Lutheran church.
Okay.
Down in Muncie. About a year later, we ended up moving up here, and we started going to the Lutheran church down the road, and went to that church pretty much through junior high and high school, but it wasn't. I can't say we were practicing Lutherans. I mean, we went to church every Sunday,
right?
And I can pretty much say that in that church down there, I could probably tell you how many ceiling tiles are on the ceiling,
Oh my goodness.
and how many or squares and O's are on the carpet,
Oh my.
and how many blocks. So it wasn't. It didn't do a whole lot. And then, unfortunately, when I was 16, my father passed away.
Oh, wow.
Unexpectedly, and at that point, my mom just lost her desire to go to church. So
Sure.
I don't think we went back to church there again. Maybe a couple times at Christmas Eve, and that'd be about it. But
Wow.
that was really the extent of it.
Yeah, that's a huge event.
Yeah. So,
My goodness.
so that's
Yeah.
where it stopped right there.
Right. Okay.
At 16 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's like an abrupt stop.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was, it was okay. I was in high school, and I was, I had plenty of things to keep me busy. So,
Sure.
but yeah.
Okay. Our next sauce is a chipotle
Okay.
from Tia Lupita's. So I said that first brand was one of my favorites. This is a very close second favorite.
Okay. These, can you buy these locally, or you have to go
This
to
one's
Chicago?
I've seen it at Meyer.
Okay.
Yeah, try this one out.
Okay. Tia Lupita.
So I've had their chipotle and the original, and the original is also really good. It's like Frank's Elevated.
That's definitely Chipotle. Yep.
So,
Good.
so when did you really grab hold of your faith as your own?
Well, probably didn't go to church for the longest period of time. I must have been in my 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, and I started experimenting with churches, I guess, and I started going to a Baptist church in Wookettville.
No.
And it was a different experience, but I met a gentleman that was the pastor of a church in Wookettville named Billy Fields, who was a musician, a very good musician, very good singer, and he was the preacher there. And of course, every Sunday in a Southern Baptist church, they have altar calls at the
Sure.
and so if you're not saved,
Right.
you feel like that altar call is directed right towards you. And so for a couple, 2 or 3 years, I had literally super glued my hind end to that pew because I wasn't going up to, and
Right.
so, and then I'll make it a short version of the story. So one day I'm at my house, and I lived on Loon Lake, and Billy Fields showed up at my door. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get the big sermon,
Right.
a one-on-one. And he came in, just thought I was in the area, and I thought I'd stop by and see. And he noticed that I had a couple guitars sitting over in the corner, and he said, "Can we play guitars for a little bit?" And I said, "Well, sure." And I said, "I don't know what you want to play." And he goes, "Well, I like Neil Young." And I said, "Well, I like Neil Young too." And we sat there and played Neil Young songs for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Didn't preach to me or anything. And I probably just a few weeks later, he told me, he said, I pray for you. So I finally, one Sunday, I didn't put any super glue on my pew,
right.
and I went to the altar, and I didn't kneel. I just went up there, and he hugged me and said, whispered in my ear. It's funny. I whispered in his ear first and said, "Hey, by the way, Billy, I'm going to see Neil Young next week."
This took place at the altar.
Yeah, I told him, I said, "I'm going to see Neil Young next." But he prayed. He said, "I'm praying for you." Then I think I might have said, "Yeah, I'm going to see Neil Young next week." That kind of broke the ice a little bit. And I think it was probably the next week. Then I went up to the altar and I kneeled, and because I always felt every Sunday when he gave that altar call, he was talking to me. That's how I felt the whole time, that he was always talking to me. And so I went to the altar and I kneeled. But I would see people in the past go to the altar, and they all of a sudden they would raise up, and they would be hooping and hollering and running around and screaming, and I thought, well, when I went up there, I didn't get that.
Right.
Billy kneeled over and said, "Myron, are you accepting Jesus?" And I said, "Yeah, I am, Billy." And I thought something was going to hit me.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, this Holy Spirit was going, and I was going to jump up and start running around. Well, that wasn't the case. But I saw a man that I'd become friends with standing back in the back, standing up, just grinning. Makeup, and I'd become friends with him. And he wasn't your typical Baptist. He was a businessman, but he had strong faith. And I searched him out and went directly to him.
Yeah.
Didn't bother shaking me about. Went right to him, and
Yeah.
And he hugged me and said, "Myron, don't let anybody tell you how to worship your God. Don't let anybody tell you how to do it. It's a personal relationship. It's yours." And that always stuck with me. So probably at that point in time, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna try real hard. I'm gonna try to be a Christian.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to live my life a little better. So that was at that point, and then I'll stop right there.
Hey, that's
because
a
it changed.
story.
It changed
Right.
again. It changed again. So,
Yeah, we're gonna circle back to that here in a minute, but
okay. Sorry, I get emotional, but that's me.
no, you know what? By the end of this, everybody might have tears running down their eyes.
Yeah.
So our next sauce is a Scotch bonnet homemade concoction.
Okay.
From Sam and Andrew, Kenya.
Okay.
Sam attends our 10:45 service.
That one right there.
Yeah, the labels weren't off of it.
I see.
But
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Okay.
You can check it out if you want to. It's
Yeah.
a little thick.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks interesting.
Yeah,
And that's this one right here.
you're right. So
Okay.
Scotch bonnets are pretty comparable to a habanero.
Okay.
And
All righty, here we go. That's pretty mild,
yeah,
and then it kind of flames up at the end. You know?
it's sneaky.
Yeah. My son's back there waiting for my flames to start shooting. He just can't wait for flames to start coming out of my ears.
Oh, right.
That's good.
Yeah. So, how has your faith changed your life?
Huh. So how long is this show?
Oh, we have.
Well, you know, to continue my story, my saga, you know, I left that Baptist church because I kind of got tired of being told that, you know, I shouldn't mow my grass in 90-degree heat with my shirt off. My shorts are too short. I shouldn't go do this. I shouldn't go do that. You know.
Right.
And so I left that Baptist arena and was living with my mother. And of course, we didn't go to church for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I had a couple friends, Brian Heller, a dear friend of mine, played sports with him, and then Natalie